things are still going well at the new job. So pretty happy about that. I hope everyone else's weeks went well. Gotta be a little bit careful because I can feel the glue that is keeping the golf tee attached to this is a little bit shaky. So, ooh, hang on, looking at Twitch, and did my connection go away? Alright, it's just unstable. Well, that's unfortunate. I hope it cleans up, because yeah, that could be bad. Well, please, if you see any problems, have any problems, let me know. I'll see what I can do. I don't know that there's much that I can do to make it work if things are screwing up, but I will do my best. Yeah, so I hope everyone's week's been going well. And, you know, thankfully it's the weekend, so for those that get to enjoy the weekend off, I'm very happy for you. Everyone needs some time off. There we go. Oops, yep. We'll see if that holds. That's a little wiggly. That might not hold. We'll see. Might need to just kind of hold it a little bit like that. Well, you know what? Here. Just gonna... It's still holding just enough. That'll be good for the moment. So... We're gonna just wash off this dry brush. And let that dry out at the same time. So next up, once that's given a little bit of time to dry, is we are going to work on getting the eye points hit with a little bit of white paint, dry brushed on again. That'll be good. Oh, I'm looking at my session timer. The stream actually dropped out entirely for a little bit there. Well, that's unfortunate. But at least it's back. It's been back for like almost 5 minutes according to this, so that's good. Wonder what happened. Twitch just having a little hiccup this morning, maybe? It happens. Twitch is like, it's the weekends. We deserve to have a break, too. There we go. Alright, that should be good enough for right now. We're gonna let that sit off to the side to dry. And then we are going to get this white paint shaken up. So we're using our flat white here. And this is going to be very, very minor. We are basically just going through and getting high points, edges, things like that. We're going to go through and get those hits with some white paint. There we go. Please hold together. Please hold together. You little, golf tee. Oof, yeah, this thing is... Glue is no longer really holding the golf tee to the model, but it's fine. It's fine. We will make do. There we go. That's fine. We will use that. That looks fine. Let's let this dry a little bit. Yep, there it goes. It's like, when is it gonna fall off? There it goes. It's fine. What I really need to do is I need to, like, just pick up some blue tack. Use that to keep things stuck to the golf tee. But that is something we will do another time. In the meantime, we're going to let that sit for a little bit to dry while we get the dry brush cleaned off. So, for those that happen to be on Twitter, which might be some of you out there, things are obviously not going well with the buyouts. So, I am currently looking at moving off to different sites for doing my posting about, like, when streams are coming out and stuff like that. So I'm leaning towards co-host right now. It seems to hit on the kind of seems to hit on most of the things that I'm looking for in a social media platform. So that is where I'm leaning towards right now. If I get signed up, I will certainly put a link to it on my Twitch profile. That way people can get to it. As with pretty much everything social media related, I don't end up really posting all that much on social media anyhow. Most of the time it's just, you know, putting out when I'm going to be streaming, or when I retweet other people for different causes that I believe in, stuff like that. Oh, hey, you know what I need to put up? Getting distracted here. Need to put up a reference picture for Korg. There we go. But yeah, like, I don't end up posting all that much on social media anyway, but it's a good place to be able to connect with people and stuff like that. So, if you happen to be following me on Twitter, I will probably be posting within the next day or so a link to wherever I end up, which, like I said, is kind of leaning towards co-host right now. So, yeah, that's probably going to be happening, like I said, within the next couple of days. So be on the lookout for that. If that is something that you are interested in. But yeah. So, sorry for that little tangent there. Usually I don't like to talk about that kind of stuff on the chill streams, but it is something that is a growing concern given how things are going. So it's like, you know what? This kind of needs to be talked about. So yeah. So let's work on getting Korg painted. So let's take a look at this real quick and see where we want to start off on. Honestly, I think I'm gonna do his body first. The big thing for that comes down to there's a lot of low-lying areas outside of the armor that are going to be very difficult to get to if I do the armor first. It's going to be very difficult to get the low-lying skin areas without going over the armor again. So I think we're going to do the rock body first. Seems like a good place to start. It should be pretty quick because we're painting gray on gray here. So, but I'm going with a little bit of a darker gray for the body. Oops. Move that out of the way. Here we go. Off to the side. You know, speaking of painting, outside of this continuing project for getting all of the Marvel United stuff painted, part of my... I'm doing a follower goal, obviously, down at the bottom. Trying to hit 50 followers, that way I can get that much closer to being a Twitch affiliate, so hopefully one of these days we will get there. But yeah, so working towards that, but as part of that, I have a Red Hood costume currently, but the helmet could have been better for it, so I am currently going through, I got a 3D printed helmet printed off, and I am going to go through and get that prepared so that I can actually get that painted, and that will go towards getting that costume looking even better than it does. So yeah, pretty excited about that. The helmet is all set as far as being printed goes, and currently the next thing I need to work on for it is I need to get the print lines smoothed out on it. So if you're not aware, when you use the extrusion type of printers, so those are the ones where you load like filament into them, the resolution on those printers is pretty good, but it's also low enough that when you get stuff printed off, it is going to have print lines on it. So you can see where the layers are that make up the print. So one of the things I need to do when getting a 3D print to be sort of prop ready kind of thing is you need to smooth out the print so that it doesn't have any so that it has, you can't really see like the print lines anymore, that kind of thing. So that is something that I need to work on. And there's a few different methods for getting that to happen. So there's products to do that kind of thing. So in the case of that stuff, there's a product from a company called Smooth-On called XTC 3D, which is essentially, it's a two-part fast curing epoxy. It's extremely fast curing. I think like the cure time is somewhere between 5 and 10 minutes. So generally you're trying to make it in relatively small batches, and you got to go through and get it essentially painted onto your 3D print, and it fills in, smooths out all the print lines. But, you know, one of the biggest problems with it is that it is an extremely short cure time, so you end up fighting against the clock to get the stuff painted on before it has a chance to cure, and you've, you know, run out of time. So that is one thing you have to deal with XTC 3D is that, and you end up generally wasting a lot of the XTC 3D as well, because of that short cure time. So I wanted to see if there was a method that I could use that will be cheaper and less wasteful. One of the things that I had thought about doing and looked about online to see if it was actually a thing is taking UV resin, painting that on, and curing it with the UV lights, which looks to be a thing. And I have UV resin already because I also have a resin printer, which is great. Resin printing is it requires a lot of cleanup work. It's very messy, but the resolution is great. And the other problem with resin printers is generally the print area is very, very small. So that's why for bigger things I use the extrusion style printer. For smaller things I will use the resin printer because I don't have to do as much cleanup work with it. But yeah, so what I'm going to try is a thing I saw online, which is, yeah, taking that UV resin, you know, setting aside a bit from the bottle, taking a paintbrush and painting it on to the 3D model, and with that can get the hit it with UV light, and that will cure it, and that should fill in the print lines. That way it should smooth out the model. And then I can also go through after and sand things down to get it to smooth out even more. So we will see how that ends up working out. I have pretty high hopes, so... Yeah, it's really hard to tell whether or not this paint is actually painting on, because I'm painting gray on gray. So we'll keep going at it. Just don't want to put too much on. A little bit more. There we go. Alright, so gotta hit up the legs. Get that all painted. Oh, so, actually, now that I'm thinking about it. So, my quest of watching through the MCU TV show stuff has not progressed since last time. I have been entirely caught up in watching Lost, which has been a very fun watch so far. Currently at the tail end of the 5th season of Lost, so very close to the end at this point. And yeah, it's been a very good show. I'm very much enjoying it, and I don't know why I waited so long to watch it. I do appreciate that I am watching it way after it wrapped up, though, because I would much rather binge watch something like this rather than watch it real time. So it's made the watch that much more enjoyable. I don't have to wait for new episodes. So yeah. I will eventually get back to the MCU stuff. It is just... I have been really enjoying Lost, and it's really hard to put on something else while I'm trying to watch through that. So yeah. I heard the last episode of She-Hulk was very... funny and apparently for some controversial, but I heard it was very, it broke the fourth wall, pretty hard, which, I'm not super familiar with She-Hulk, but my understanding is that that happens pretty consistently in the comics, So, I don't know why people are having a hard time with that, but people like to complain, so that would probably be part of it. Oh, hey, thank you for the follow. I just saw it. I missed that. So yeah, thank you for the follow, HeebieGeebie Ouija's. That's a great name. And I hope I didn't mispronounce the name too badly. Alright, so we might do more of the rock skin after. I think it's probably fine for right now, but let's work on the, let's see, we're gonna work on getting the shoulder pads in the spot on. Excellent, thank you. Hope you're doing well today. Yeah, let's work on getting the shoulder pads and the loincloth and all of that worked on, and that should get us in a better spot, and then we can do the... What I'm going to do is I'm going to make the... I'm going to use a brown color for doing the lower parts of the shoulder pads and loincloth and all that. And for the upper parts, I'm going to make it armored, so I'm going to use like a copper color for doing that. So I think that will end up looking pretty good. There we go. Let's give this a little bit of water just to thin it out. There we go. And let's find out if I thin this out way too much. Might have. That is going on extraordinarily thin. Let me try, getting a little bit more paint in there. It is tough trying to find the exact amount of paint to put in here. A fine balancing act. Don't want it to go on too thick, because if it goes on too thick, then the automatic shading we get from our dry brush is not going to work. Yeah, actually, now that I think of it, I still need to watch the new Thor movies still, too. Love and Thunder. Heard it was pretty good. And I like Taika Waititi's work anyway, so... definitely need to give that a watch. Although, speaking of Taika Waititi, thing I'm really looking forward to is the next season of Our Flag Means Death. Oh boy, that show. First season was excellent. It was very unexpected, and I was quite happy with it. So, and I've been eagerly waiting to find out if they're going to be making a second season of that. And I'm glad that it did not get caught up in the destruction of the HBO service, because I was worried when that buyout happens what was going to happen to some of my favorite shows, and unfortunately a lot of stuff did end up getting canceled, but at least some of the other stuff that I watch was not, so still have that to look forward to, and I still need to watch the third season of Harley Quinn. I'm glad to hear that they will also be continuing on that show, because that is an excellent show. And I really need to, once I finish Lost, I think I'm going to go through and watch the third season of Harley Quinn. Because that is also yet another show that made me go, like, I didn't really hear anything about that show before I saw someone post several clips from the first episode on Twitter, and I was like, oh, this looks pretty funny, so I decided to give it a shot, and I will say the first episode of Harley Quinn is very, very good, and it's also probably the least good episode out of the show, which is saying a lot because it's an excellent first episode, but it's, for my taste, it's probably a bit too fast-paced, I guess, I would say, but even then, like, it's very, very, very good, and the show is just fantastic. The characters are just so good in it, and the theme behind the show and all that is just very well done as well. Well worth a watch if you haven't given it a watch before. Like, honestly, with the recent Harley Quinn stuff, like both the animated show and like the Birds of Prey movie, they've been really knocking it out of the park with that character. You know, very much started out just being a, well, I mean, she was originally supposed to just be a one-off character in the animated series, but kind of came into her own from that, and then has been kind of a staple ever since. But her move to become very independent and all that was a nice thing to see develop over time, and I feel like between the Birds of Prey movie and the Harley Quinn TV show, they've done an excellent job of giving her more than just being Joker's abused girlfriend, you know? Of this painted. There we go. So yeah, God, I've had a, you know, I had meant to watch Harley Quinn season 3 when it came out, but other stuff just came up, so I wasn't able to do it. Because I had binge watched the second season of it, and it was just like, oh my god. With the way it ended, I'm like, I cannot wait for the third season. Yeah, it's excellent show. We can always go over that again later, kind of fill in the color a little bit more. You know what? I'm going to hit the shoulder pads again a little bit, so they could use a little bit more color. I don't want Korg to look super washed out. I want him to actually have a little bit of vibrancy when it comes to him. There we go. I don't want Korg to just be grayscale. I want him to actually have a bit of color. There we go. Also, I need to find out with the Thor Love and Thunder movie whether or not they ended up bringing Korg back. I imagine they probably did. He was a very fun character from Ragnarok, and with Taika directing Love and Thunder, I can't imagine Korg didn't come back. So... that's probably good enough for that spot. And then let's grab some copper, and we're going to paint on all the metal parts of the... Actually, let's double check this real quick. Yeah, that should be fine. There we go. I'm just going to look at this real quick, because the belts going to the shoulder pads, I am going to make those a darker brown. I was like, do I want to do that now? Do I want to do that later? We'll do that later. Plus the buckle on the front is going to be, I've got a chrome silver for that spot, so I'm going to zoom in just to make this a bit easier to see for people. Hardest part with doing the zoomed in thing is remembering that I need to keep the figure pretty well centered for it to show up well on the stream. But I'll try to remember to do that. Let's go with a little bit of water to thin out this copper just a tad. I don't want to thin it out too much. If I do, then it's just going to, the metallic bits will not really hold up well if it's way too thin, you know? That's the thing with the metallics, is they just will pool so easily if you put too much stuff in them to thin them out, so... Let's see how this goes. I think that'll work. It's going on very light, but we can always add more paint. There we go. Yeah, you know what? I might actually add just a tad more paint to that, because that is going on a little bit thinner than I would like. That should be plenty. Now, should hold a little bit better to the surface. There we go. It's tough to see, but it's there. And we also don't want it to go on like too heavy anyway, because we can do thin layers, we can do multiple thin layers to really build it up. We don't want it to just glob on, so... It's all about having a nice journey and not just running as fast as possible towards the end. Hopefully by next time that I do this stream, I will have reminded myself to buy some blue tack so that I can use that to attach the figures onto a base that I can then hold that instead of holding the figure, because my solution of using Elmer's glue on a golf tee did not end up working, because the Elmer's glue does not hold super duper well. Gotta do these plates down here. There we go. And then do the plates on the back here. And then we'll see how the shoulder plates look and probably do another layer on those once they've had time to dry. Getting there. Let's see. Yeah, that is pretty dry. Okay, so let's give these another layer. Hopefully make it pop even more. There we go. God, I tell you, my week's been busy. It hasn't been bad, it's just been busy. And so, being able to just take some time and chill out and do this has been much appreciated. It's just been, yeah. The breaks have been short during the week, so it's nice to be able to just sit down and not have to think, not have to feel like I'm getting pulled all over the place. Just get to sit and let my mind wander while I get this looking its best. Tell you too, sometimes the music choices really, really help on this because I keep forgetting I have this playlist set up on YouTube for the music, and tell you, whenever I hit the GoldenEye stuff, it's like, oh man, this game had a really good soundtrack. Forget it was I'm trying to remember who did the soundtrack for GoldenEye. I think it was Graham Norgate and Grant Kirkhope, I think. Trying to remember. Can't remember off the top of my head. But I know Graham Norgate went on to do the soundtracks for Time Splitters, which was very much a spiritual successor to GoldenEye. Had a lot of the same developers and stuff working on it, so It was especially evident when you started going through like the unlocks in Time Splitters, and you unlock a lot of stuff that it's just like, oh, you unlocked like the targeting reticle from GoldenEye and stuff like that, which was fun little Easter egg stuff. God, I need to go back and play some Time Splitters 2 at some point. It was a excellent game. And I heard the third one was very fun as well. But man, I spent so much time in my youth having my friends over and playing some Time Splitters 2. Because the multiplayer was really fun, and you could do a lot of really weird modes with it, because the customization for the multiplayer was fantastic. It's like I remember doing we would set like the max amount of AI opponents, and we would do like, I think it was a virus tag mode or something like that, where basically if you got touched by an infected enemy, you would basically get set on fire. The fire wouldn't kill you, but you would be infected, and you were trying to infect the other players. So yeah, we would just have a ton of AI opponents running around the arena and trying to not become infected and seeing how long we could last, and it was a lot of fun. And yeah, there were some really weird custom modes you could do in that game. Not to mention just like, you know, you could, at least in the original game, you could make your own arenas, because they had a level editor built into the game, which was pretty cool. But yeah, you had that, and then you could change for each weapon spawn point. You could set what weapon you wanted to spawn at that particular location in every map, not just the ones that you made. So like, you could have some very weird setups, and it made for some very fun modes that you could craft and then save off. Trying to remember, I think we had another one that was like a Terminator survival mode that all the AI opponents were these robot characters, and you could set it so that they had you could set it so that your AI opponents had the resistances built into them for whatever their character was. So like, they were pretty much immune to any sort of fire damage and stuff like that. So you set up a few weapons that were good against them, and you set up a bunch of weapons that are not good against robots, and just basically have a survival mode. And it was pretty decently fun. And I'm sure if I go through my memory card for the PS2, I can probably find all that stuff saved off somewhere. There we go. We will work on the shoulder pads a little bit more later. meantime, let's get this spun around. And we're going to go with we're going to go with a little bit of a darker brown for the belts that go between the shoulder pads and the regular belts. So, yeah. Let me show you a little bit more. Yeah, and depending on when we finish up today, I may go grab the red hood helmet to show off how the print came out. You can see what it looks like when it's still got all the print lines on it. Kind of do a progress report on how it ends up looking. I'm very excited about the red hood helmet getting worked on, because granted, the one I originally made for the costume was decent enough. Like, I think I did a pretty good job, considering it was my second time working with making EVA foam armor. So given that, I think the helmet came out pretty good the first time I made it, but it's a little awkward to wear. Like, I wanted the eyes to be lit up, so I made like little LED eyepieces behind plexiglass, like a frosted plexiglass that I magnetized and had it hook up to the helmet that way. And it worked for the most part, but there was a loose wire somewhere, so the eyes would kind of flicker at times. And I was just like, okay. But the rest of the helmet ended up looking not too bad. I was pretty happy with how it came out. But with the 3D printed one, like, it is a consistently nice looking build. So it'll look very nice, and then going through with the airbrush after to do the paint job on it will really help everything look perfect on it. But yeah, it will get there. One of the many, many projects that I have going on, because I apparently can't sit still. Although thankfully, sorry, just pull this out to the side to clean up a little bit of this. There we go. Oops, sorry. The paint was getting a little the paint was kind of beating up a little too much. What was I gonna say? Oh, I don't remember what I was gonna say, but yeah, I'm happy to have cosplay projects to work on again, because that was something that during COVID I was just like, oh, you know, I don't have anywhere to go to show off this stuff. And granted, I'm still not like going to cons or anything like that, because I don't want to risk it, but I finally was like, you know what, even if I'm not going places, I do want to work on the cosplay stuff again, because it gives me something to work on, it gives me some happiness from getting those little projects to work on. So need that kind of enjoyment every now and then. So yeah, I am very much looking forward to getting some more build time on the Red Hood costume. I think I'm probably also going to do a bit of redesign work on the chest piece that I made for the Red Hood costume. Again, made out of EVA foam. If I'm sitting in it, it doesn't quite hang correctly, so I think I need to trim off some of the foam on the bottom, but if I do that, I'm going to need to fix up some of the paint a little bit. So overall, I think I'm just going to need to take some time to actually like go through and not do a full redesign of everything, but it gives me a chance to actually go through and do some fix-up work that is probably sorely needed. There we go. I think we found just the right amount of the paint to water ratio for the belts, because that actually went on super duper well. So here's what we're gonna do. Since that went pretty well, I'm gonna go over here, mix up the lighter brown paint again, and see if that is a little bit, that might need to be a little bit thicker, but we'll see if I can get a decent layer out of that to go over the shoulder stuff again. There we go. There. But yeah, now outside of the Red Hood costume and doing the fix-up work on that, I'm like, you know, it's post-Halloween at this point, which means that I've got nearly the maximum amount of time to work on a costume for next year. So it's like, you know what? Start doing some planning on that. And given my latest obsession, which has been learning how to play fighting games in general, and more specifically learning to play Guilty Gear Strive, I was like, you know what? They got so many cool looking characters in that game. I want to try making a costume of one of them. I kind of want to do a gender-swapped Giovanna, because she's my main in Guilty Gear Strive. I think that could be a pretty fun costume, and it would be pretty fun making a giant plush wolf that I can hook up to the costume as well. So that is a consideration that I'm looking at. The one that I might settle on right now, though, because it would be a really fun costume to try out, is Faust from Guilty Gear Strive. I am not a very tall person. In fact, I am quite short. So I think Faust would be a fun character to do, just from a standpoint of, well, I'm gonna need to be tall for this, so maybe I can get some stilts, which I haven't done before for a costume. So that'd be a fun costume addition to do. So I was looking at getting some drywall installation stilts, and using those to boost my height up. And then, like, the Faust costume is relatively basic as far as, like, you're wearing hospital scrubs, so, like, that's not too complicated. So you got that. I would need to do some sewing so that I could make some gloves for the costume, because I don't want to go with just like standard gloves. Like, if you look at the gloves that Faust is wearing, like, they're not your standard, like, they're certainly not, you know, vinyl hospital glove type things. Like, they are costume style gloves. But the big thing with the gloves is I would want to make them myself for a couple reasons. First, to get the look to look correct. But secondly, the gloves, Faust has very long fingers, like disturbingly long fingers. So I actually bought already some finger extensions. They're basically like these gloves that you fit each little finger thing over your finger, and when you bend it, it's got a set of levers and gears to basically have a finger that extends out. Hang on, I'm gonna zoom out. You got a finger, you know, like if this is my pinky, it extends out to about like right there. And it's jointed like a regular finger, but when you bend your finger, the whole thing curls like a real finger would, kind of thing. So I've got a set of those to really, like, make my fingers look disturbingly long. So I can build some gloves around that. And I think that would look pretty cool. And then I can do some work to make the syringe that he has on his waist. Could actually do some fun stuff with making the like liquid inside of it and all that. And then with the paper bag he wears over his head, I was thinking, because just wearing a paper bag would be fine, but it wouldn't hold up over a day. Let's say if I was cosplaying at a con, that would not really hold up well during a day. So What I was thinking was I could make a thing that looks like a brown paper bag out of EVA foam, paint it, and it would look, probably pretty close to the real thing, and it would be sturdy and hold up throughout an entire convention going day. And then I wouldn't need to, make a new bag every time I want to wear the costume. So yeah, got that, and then for his glowing red eye that is poking out through the bag, one thing I was thinking about doing is they make these really cool little circular LED screens. I could get one of those and program in the eye for that. Like, just make a looping video of the eye for that, and rig up a little board for it and battery, and I can hide that in the bag. That way it can hang out there, and if I do that, the hole where the eye goes, I can just make the hole a little bit wider than it should be to hold the eye, and it gives me enough space to look out through the bag. That way I can actually see where I'm going, because particularly if I'm walking around on stilts, I'm gonna need to know where I'm gonna need to be able to see where I'm going pretty well, so that I don't, trip over stuff and potentially hurt myself, so. But yeah, so it's, Faust looks to be the one that I want to try next, which could be a very, very fun costume, and I'm very much looking forward to putting in some time on that. And what's nice is, now that I've switched jobs, I have more time to myself, because I have moved off to a part-time job while I wait to hear back from the school I applied to for going back to school. So but yeah, so it's like, you know what? I've worked over a decade doing, a tech job that required me to be doing minimum 40-hour weeks and generally doing unpaid overtime because I was salary, and the tech industry is notoriously not unionized, so it's like, you know what? I'm gonna go take a part-time job instead, and I've got enough saved up from my years of working in the tech field that it's just like, you know what, I'm gonna do part-time work, that way I can enjoy my time off better. And granted, not everyone has that option, but life is too short. Might as well enjoy what you got, you know? Plus, my dog is very happy to see me when I get home. go. And there. You know what? We gotta give this brush a little bit of a clean off because the paint is kind of sticking to it at this point, and I don't want it sticking that much. There we go. That should be good enough. There we go. But yeah, so the new part-time job going way better. I'm not stressed out at all, thankfully. So that makes it a much marked improvement from the previous job. So plus, it's just I'm gonna be perfectly honest here. It's nice not being in the tech field anymore. Like, the tech field pays well, but it is soul-sucking work. I feel very much like, I lived out the Office Space movie plot. Apart from, I wasn't stealing money. But yeah, it's like, you know what? I can't keep doing this to myself. It hurts real bad. And yeah, I am much happier for it, and we're just going to be working towards a new degree. That way I can try to get into a field that I feel like I am going to enjoy much more. Because again, life is too short to be unhappy, so... And who knows, if the Twitch thing goes well, maybe I can have a nice little side job out of this too. Not that I need that kind of money, but hey, you know what? If I can also support myself through this, that'd be pretty cool. Alright, that looks pretty good. So the copper should be all set now. So let's work on getting the chrome silver put on these little parts, which should be super duper quick. There's not much to that. There's very little in terms of surface area I need to cover for those. Decided with the metallics because they kind of thin out way too much if I add any water to them. I am just going to not do any water. Just going straight on. So that's why this is looking a little bit better as far as like the finish on it goes. Here we go. And let's get... try to get all of the edges here, which is a little tough. Especially because my hands... I don't know if it picks up well on camera, but my hands are shaky. So it makes trying to get nice, clean areas painted very difficult. I don't know if lightening up on the amount of caffeine I take in might help with that. Suppose it's worth a shot. See if I can kind of trim down on that. Okay, that looks pretty good. Okay, what else can we hit up on the figure itself? Oh wait, you know what he needs? He needs eyes. We didn't paint his eyes yet. We need the flat white for that. Well, this is pretty easy. He's just got white eyes. I don't have to do any, like, irises, pupils, anything like that. I just gotta paint it white. That is super simple. See if I can get the right angle. There we go. There we go. Got those big white eyes. Okay. I may end up going over the rock skin again later. Maybe. I think it's mostly okay. So, if we are gonna skip past the rock skin for the moment, which I think we are, I am going to use... I'm gonna start working on the base. So, for the base, he is actually on a street if you look at this. So, like, there's some, you know, storm drain kind of thing. Some rubble from the road. This is actually that he's standing on right here is road, and this is all sidewalk. So, what we're gonna do is I'm gonna work on the sidewalk, which I've got a German gray that I'm gonna be using for that. It's a nice dark gray. Let me get the brush in there. Okay, another toothpick, so I can get some of this German gray out into my palettes. gonna go 3 drops of paint with a drop of water and see. We'll see how that looks as far as how it holds onto the edges. That might actually be a little bit too thick. Let me try adding in a little bit more water and see if that comes out to the right level. There we go. It's one of those things where the you think you got it figured out, and it still just needs constant adjustments to try to get it to the right level that you want. We'll try painting this and see how it holds up. The other thing that I will probably do after with this mini too is I will go through and give it a wash on the base, which will greatly help with the dirt, you know, aesthetic for it. So I think that will work out super well. Washes are just fantastic. Like, they make easy work of a model, really just giving it a lot of extra definition that it wouldn't otherwise have. And with a wash, you don't have to be super good at painting either. Like, all I gotta do is mix the wash, and then just kind of put it all over, and then it kind of just slides off of surfaces and goes down into cracks, and it makes it look really, really nice. And it gives you a lot of shading for free. So, let's do this. We've got, like, honestly, there's not a lot I have to do for the sidewalk. Like, it's pretty much already there. It's dark gray, which is what I wanted, and it's different gray from what Korg is. So that is exactly what I'm looking for. And then I will do some black, and I'm going to thin it out really, well, not thin it out a lot, but I'm going to thin it out quite a bit. That way it doesn't cover up these nice little rocks down here, but I do want to make it more black to help separate it from the sidewalk. So, let's grab a toothpick. I can put some of the flat black into here. Alright. So, there. And we'll do like that much. And add in some water. Oop. Come on, close up. There we go. It's reminding me I need to order some more of these Tamiya paints because they work super duper well for airbrush work, and I'm going to be doing that for the Red Hood helmet, so I will need some more red for sure. And I'm I'm probably going to end up using, like, all-clad for the metallic surfaces of the Red Hood helmet. Because the all-clad stuff works super well for making metals that look like actual metals. And all-clad is a airbrush-only paint. But, what I plan on doing with the Red Hood helmet, which is very much what I did with the original one that I did in EVA foam, was you paint over the whole thing in a base metal color that you want. So I will figure out what I want that to look like for the metal color. And you do a paint, you do a layer of, or potentially a couple layers of paint of the metal color that you want the helmet to be made out of. And then what you do, and that's the fun part, is once you get the metal down and you've got it looking nice and metallic as far as like looking like it's actually a helmet made out of metal, let it dry, and then you can do it a few different ways. You can use like Vaseline or toothpaste, a couple other things. Basically, you need something that will not fully dry itself. You take it and you do some small detail work of like going along like corners and edges of things where you'll get a lot of wear and tear on metal surfaces, like where paint will rub or chip off. You go over areas like that where you want some paint to chip, and you take the toothpaste or the Vaseline, you go over those areas, and then once you have that down, you take your regular top layer of paint. In this case, for the Red Hood, it's going to be red paint. You go over the helmet with that, let that dry, and then once that's dry, you find the spots where you've got the toothpaste or Vaseline or whatever, find those areas and you just gently rub it off, and it will take the layer of red paint away with it. And once you clean it off, you'll just have the metal layer underneath, so it makes it look like you've got paint chipping off of the metal, which is exactly what I want for having that wear and tear in there. So I'm gonna do that, and then you can also take some it's called Rub and Buff. You can get like these small tubes of it. It's generally used for like fixing up, like if you have, you know, fancy metal set pieces and stuff like that that maybe are like tarnished and stuff like that, you can put a little bit of it on. You can put a little bit of Rub and Buff on some like washcloth or whatever, and you can rub it over the surface of the thing and basically like you cover up the tarnish and stuff like that. But Rub and Buff works really well too for basically you use it, get a little bit of it on a piece of paper or something like that. You just go over edges of, like, sharp edges of things that again would be where paint would likely wear off due to wear and tear kind of thing. And you just kind of hit the edges with that, and it makes it look like the thing is, you know, it's had some life to it kind of thing. It's not gonna be, you know, super that's the thing with like a lot of the cosplay stuff, is you can paint it and make it look super new. That's an option, but very clean stuff looks super fake too. you want to have a little bit of weathering with it so that it actually gives it a little bit more lived-in feel. So that's why you go and do some weathering work, and the weathering work scums it up a bit, but it makes it look like it's been around a while. It's been used. You don't want to go overboard with it. If you go overboard with it, then again, it's a very thin area where you try to hit it's kind of like the Uncanny Valley, except you're trying to hit the very brief period where you're trying to hit that Uncanny Valley of it's that small window where it actually, in the Uncanny Valley sense, where the thing looks uncanny to you, because you don't want the Uncanny Valley when it comes to like robots and stuff like that. But for weathering, you want to try to get, it's a very brief range where the piece doesn't look brand spanking new, and it doesn't look artificially beaten to crap. So it's a very thin line that you run. But if you get it, like, it looks really good. You want it to be relatively subtle, unless you're going for like heavily battle damage stuff. But even then, like, there is an area of too much when you're coming to battle damage. That again, you gotta try to ride that line a little bit. So it's a tough thing to really get perfect, but you can, if you do it right, it ends up coming out looking really good. So yeah, it's fun stuff. I really enjoy doing it. And like I said, I really haven't done any cosplay stuff since before COVID. So it's been something that I wanted to get back to. Alright. You know, I'm gonna go over the rock skin a little bit more. Just wanna try to make it a little bit more covered in certain areas. There's a few spots where it's like, it could be a little bit more covered. Hope I'm not droning on when it comes to the cosplay stuff. It's a thing I love doing, and it's a thing I haven't gotten to do in a while. So I'm excited to be able to get back to it. This gray a mix. Okay, here we go. And we're not going to use a big brush for this because we're just going to go over and do some minor touch-up work. Basically just a few areas where I'm looking at it, I'm like, this doesn't look quite right. Like the side of the head is not quite right. Like the top of the head right here, a little scuffed. And I will probably take that small dry brush again and take some white paint, and we're gonna like go over and just hit some surfaces to really give a little bit more. Like right here should be shinier, right here should be shinier, stuff like that. Overall, though, I'm pretty happy with how this came out. Here we go. Kind of do a little bit of coverage kind of everywhere. Because actually, I think I went with a little bit of a darker gray for doing the retouch work on this. That was not intentional, but it's actually kind of giving some variation to the stones, which I like. Here we go. Here we go. There we go. Just kind of hit some random spots, and like I said, it gives it a little bit of a color variation in the rock work. I think that looks pretty good. Like, it's subtle, but it's there. Here we go. Hit a little bit of this. I don't want to go too heavy because this is like the shadow area. I just want to give it enough that it doesn't look pure black as far as the color goes, because I don't want it to be that dark. There we go. Here we go. That is looking pretty good. I'm pretty happy with that. Alright. so let's take a look over this real quick, see if there's anything that we need to touch up. Like I said, I will go through after and grab some wash, that way I can wash the base and make that look better. And then I'm going to do the rim of this after in blue for the hero color, but the rest of it's looking pretty good. I think the only thing I'm going to touch up real quick while I see it is, can I give this a mix real quick? Okay, this is still doable for paint. Alright, let's take some of this light brown and do this belt real quick, because this is a little too faded. And even this is like a little bit too faded. You know, we're just gonna do another thin layer over over this stuff. Just give it a little bit more thing to separate it from the gray of the rock skin. There we go. There we go. There we go. And I think I'm going to... what we're going to do. I'm going to take this copper. I'm going to go over edges of the armor plating. See if I can get those tiny, tiny edges hit with this metal color. Because when I painted this, it kind of only hit the center of these metal plates. Didn't really hit the edges all that much. And it's looking just a little off. Like, I want it to look worn down a little bit, but the edges are looking a bit too gray. So here we go. Looks a little bit better. And then once we're done with this, I think we'll just do some dry brushing, some whites to highlight some edges, and I think we'll be done as far as what we're going to be doing for the stream stuff. Because I always forget when I'm setting up for a stream, I always forget to grab stuff to do wash work. And so I don't want to have to go off stream to go grab all my stuff to do the wash work. So I'll just do that later on. It's not super interesting work anyway, so it's basically me just going, I'm gonna mix this, and then I'm going to take a wide brush and go over all the surfaces and just let it seep in. There. Yeah, hitting up all the edges of this. I'm really feeling better about the metallics after hitting up all the edges. It's making it look more like a big metallic piece as opposed to something that I just hit the surface, like the middle of, with some metallic paint, and it's not looking quite right, you know? Yeah, now it's looking way better. There we go. There we go. Yeah, that looks way better now. We'll do a little show off once we, there we go. Cool. Yeah, like that looks way better. Like, oops, sorry, hitting the microphone. Yeah, like all the edges are kind of hit now. Like, it's still, like, there's some areas that are missing, but honestly, that's fine. The rest of it looks very filled out, which is what I wanted. Yeah, that looks way better. Alright, so now, let's give this a shake. Shake up this white. I need a small brush. Alright, this is dry. Good. Then we gotta get off most of this white. There we go. Trying to get off the majority of this white. There we go. Go. A little bit more. It gets most of the paint off the brush. There we go. That's looking pretty good. Just powder his nose a little bit. And let's hit up the knuckles, because those have a bit of definition to them. There we go. There we go. There. There we go, and hit up a few more edges like that. You can make it look a little scuffed up. And I think, if you take a look at that, I think that looks pretty good. Again, it's subtle. You're not going to see a ton of it, but it changes it just enough that I think it looks pretty good. There's some subtle differences to the surfaces, like especially, I know it's hard to show it on camera, but like the edges right here gives it like a little bit of highlight, looks like a little bit of wear and tear, you know. I think that ended up looking pretty good. I'm pretty happy with that. Like I said, I still got to do the wash stuff and the edge of the base to make it match to the rest of the heroes, but I think that turned out pretty good. Thank you. And you know what? Before I end up signing off for today, I'm going to zoom this out a bit, and I'm going to go grab the Red Hood helmet, and I can show that off to show how the print came out, and we can have a little bit of a progress report on that for when I actually go and get the thing fully finished, so I will be right back. And I'm back. Alright, let's see how well this actually shows up on camera, because actually, you know what? I'm probably gonna have to move this back a tad just to kind of free up enough space to fit the whole thing on here. So let's do that. And so, yeah, this thing's gonna barely show up on camera. Yeah. Here, I'm gonna push this back as far as I can. Give you a little bit of edges. There we go. So yeah, 3D print for the Red Hood helmet for the costume. ended up coming out pretty good. Pretty happy with it. It was fun trying to fit it onto the printer because it did not want to sit, let's say, the regular way, which would be, you know, like I was wearing it kind of thing. I had to print it straight up and down like this. So, yeah. It just barely fit into the printer. But it ended up coming out really nice. I still have to do some sanding work, especially on the back where the supports were. But then once I do that, I'm gonna, like I said, go through with some UV resin, go over the whole thing. That way I can take all the print lines off. And I can sand that down some more and end up making it look really nice. And then it will be ready for painting. The other thing I need to do is, once I get the UV resin on it, there are some holes that I marked off back here where I need to take a Dremel and drill out the areas a little bit, so that I can install some magnets. And what's ultimately going to happen is I have a back piece that sits to cover the back of my head. So essentially what's going to happen is this whole thing is going to sit on top of my head, but that is the easiest way to fit it on, and then there's a back piece that covers the back half of my head after the fact, and that's going to be held on by magnets in the back. So that'll be good. We can get that working. And for the eyes, a lot of people just go with taking some white plastic that's got like holes in the plastic for seeing through. You can do like little pinholes, that way you can see through it. What I found online was there's some retailers that sell some flexible clear plastic that's got the little pinholes in it. That's got an LED that butts up to the edge with some silver tape along the edge. That way it keeps the light bouncing inside the plastic. And it lights up in, you know, whatever the color the LED is. In this case, I bought white ones. That way, when I go to wear the helmet, I'll be able to see out through the eyes, but they will light up whites, like my other helmet did. So it'll be much easier for me to see out of it compared to the original helmet, which was basically like I had thin slits that I could see out through from, and it did not work super well. I had to have someone guide me around the con floor when I was doing that, so those flexible eyes should work way better. But yeah, so we will come back to that Red Hood helmet at some point in time for another stream to show the progress on it. And in the meantime, I need to figure out what figure I want to do next time. I've got a few queued up, and I'm trying to decide which one I think will be good to do next time. It might be, I'm leaning towards either Scarlet Witch or Quicksilver, because they have a very limited color palettes, and they are both some pretty interesting figures to paint, so it's a tough call between the two of those, but I think I'm gonna lean one way or the other on that for the next stream. So yeah, that'll be it for today. I hope everyone had a very good time. I know I did, as always, and I'm looking forward to talking to you again soon. And you know what? Let's double check and see if anyone is streaming right now, and maybe I can go raid someone. You know what? Sean Vids is currently streaming right now, streaming some Stellaris. How about we go raid there and go say hi to Sean? So yeah, it was very fun hanging out with all of you, and I hope you have a very good rest of your day, and stay safe out there, and we'll talk to you very soon, okay? Bye-bye, everyone. And hitting the raid button. We'll see how that goes. Counting down, and... Alright, here we go. Have a good one, everyone. Bye.